My name is Nico Steves. I'd like to thank you for your listening to these weekly Constant Procession podcasts, and also for purchasing plus spreading the word about my book, The Very Fine Light, which is available on Amazon.com. I'll digress a bit for a story about a remarkable 100-year-old who served on the USS Enterprise during World War II. Bill Norberg, a humble man, always recognized his shipmates who lost their lives during those days when they fought together. It seems a fitting way as the year begins, even though not specifically about apparitions of the Virgin Mary. As President Jimmy Carter was laid to rest, it got me to remember another 100-year-old from the greatest generation, Bill Norberg, a decorated World War II Navy veteran who I had the privilege of hearing speak when he was 100 years old. Age did not detain his call to duty in bringing the stories of his World War II war experiences to younger generations so long as he could. Bill passed away 6 months later in June 2023, and it's fitting because the event where I saw him speak took place 2 years ago this week, on January 21st, 2023. This podcast is going where few other of my podcasts have gone. The story does not tell of an apparition of the Virgin Mary or a saint story, but rather a report following a different sort of amazing event. I recently attended a luncheon with a very special speaker. The speaker was a veteran, Bill Norberg, who spent World War II on the USS Enterprise, and Bill is now 100 years old. Yes, 100 years old, and he was an eyewitness to the devastation following the attack in December 1941 on Pearl Harbor, when his ship, the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, sailed into Pearl Harbor the day after the attack. That story is his to tell. My report here focuses on what happened during his lecture. It made the luncheon even more unique. In and of itself, just to see a 100-year-old person out and about is noteworthy. Bill Norberg, our keynote speaker, was well prepared, and he mostly focused on his recollection of the USS Enterprise's involvement in the Battle of Midway Island and how important that battle was during America's very fragile war effort. Before the event started, Bill shook hands and shared stories with the other handful of World War II veterans also in attendance. The luncheon was hosted by the Atlanta World War II Roundtable. I did not count, but there must have been about 150 veterans and others in the audience. The venue was a very nice church hall that included a stage and large cafeteria-style serving area. I mention this to give you a sense of the scale for the room, to give a bit of perspective, to help you visualize what also occurred during Bill's talk. Bill's lecture included pictures, maps, and illustrations that supported the details of the battle. Bill referred to a script, and that is how this talk began. So far, the remarkable aspect of this story is to note that the speaker offered his unique eyewitness account live and in person in the year 2023. This 100-year-old gentleman, he kept us all spellbound until something else happened to us in the room. The cavernous room suddenly became alive with strobe lights flashing. The electrical sounds of a warning siren began wailing, plus a computerized voice saying something like, "This is a fire emergency. Please leave the building." And so we began to exit the room as the cycle of warnings repeated in a constant loop. First the siren would blast its warning. Then the strobe lights flashed, followed by the computerized voice issuing the exit warning. But then it would be followed by dead silence. And just as it seemed like the alarm had ended, it repeated the same cycle once again, and on it went. Before the room was cleared, we learned perhaps it had been a false alarm. Maybe someone opened a security door or something. We were quickly assured all clear, and it was okay to return to our seats, which everyone did. Just one thing, however. This warning loop of siren, then flashing lights, then computer voice, with a pause, then again, kept continuing, on and on, so we waited, hoping it would soon stop. As we sat there, probably 10 minutes, waiting for it to stop, Bill Norbert, for his part, sat down rather than continue standing at the dais. And then we heard that Bill wanted to continue, and he felt that he could talk over the distraction, which he did with one humorous remark before he continued. He said, "I told myself this would be my last lecture, and now I know why." And so Bill went on. The only change is he continued sitting in the chair rather than stand. So there he was, his lecture notes in one hand, a handheld microphone in his other. With that hand, he would also change the slides on the screen. In and of itself, witnessing this 100-year-old gentleman speak over all the siren and emergency commotions was impressive and remarkable. Bill was unwavering and trooped on during the unnerving interruptions of the siren blaring, the strobe lights flashing, and the computerized voice warning to leave the building, going off all around the room. And there was Bill Norbert, unwavering and unflappable, telling heart-wrenching tales of fallen friends and the pressure during battles. When the alarm bell and warning finally stopped, I'm not sure at this point, maybe 15 minutes into his continued conversation, Bill seemed nonplussed and continued to the end of his lecture. And then he asked and answered questions. My takeaway after I left the lecture hall is that this World War II Navy veteran, Bill Norberg, is still a very remarkable person. To think that he had been just 19 years old when he found himself on the bridge of the USS Enterprise and in the nerve center of that ship during all the danger of the many, many battles they fought throughout the war years, because the USS Enterprise was World War II's most decorated ship of the war. The litany of battles the USS Enterprise went through is astonishing, and there's a short video on my website, nicosteves.com, that lists those battles just before Bill spoke. And for a battle-hardened vet from that time back over 75 years ago, now, today, at the age of 100, not only does Bill Norbert remind us of what happened then and how vulnerable and weak our country had been in those early war years, Bill at age 100 is still able to maintain focus and perform his duties through the chaos of blaring sirens and the unnerving flashing of strobe lights in his eyes and the warning shouts, undeterred and determined to fulfill his day's assignment. Bill Norbert delivered once again. Once the fire alarms ended and Bill continued for another 20 minutes within the room of approximately 150 souls, only Bill's voice could be heard. He had us all spellbound. My hat's off to Bill Norberg, and I thank him for his lifetime of service to our country. Of course, no surprise, this fine man ended the lecture with these words, "God bless America." Till next week, I'm Nico Steves here. My book, The Very Fine Light, can be found using the title, The Very Fine Light, on Amazon.com. Please feel free to contact me at nicosteves.com. That's Nikos Steves, Steves.com. If you like this episode, and for more, share them with friends. This is Nico Steves. Thank you. See you next time.